Welcome to the video for Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 3. So in this scene we actually meet Friar Lawrence for the first time, Romeo's confidant. So Friar Lawrence, just to give you a little bit of context, a friar is basically a monk, a Catholic monk. They are completely devoted to religious life. Here's a couple of pictures. I do like the haircut with the Augustine friars. So there you go, a couple of things for you to laugh at there. So we start off Act 2, Scene 3 in St. Peter's Church at dawn. It's early in the morning. Romeo has left the party. He's left the balcony with Juliet and he's gone straight to the friar to talk about getting married to Juliet. So we start off, the friar is out on his own with a basket and he's collecting flowers and plants. So let's see what he says. He says, "The grey-eyed morn smiles on the frowning night, checkering the eastern clouds with streaks of light, and fleckled darkness like a drunkard reels from fourth day's path and Titan's fiery wheels." So what he's saying here is the happy morning has arrived. It replaces the frowning night. The darkness is streaked with sunlight, and the darkness stumbles away like a drunk person. And out comes the sun, the Titan. There you go, it's a god with a sun chariot, fiery wheels. So it's coming out there, fiery wheels. There's some more allusion to different gods there. And he continues, he says, "Now the sun advancing his burning eye, the day to cheer and night's dank dew to dry." So what we've got here is now before the sun rises fully and dries the wetness on the ground, so the dew on the ground in the morning. I must fill this osier cage of ours. I must fill up this basket with baleful weeds and precious juiced flowers. Okay, so with harmful weeds or poisonous weeds and medicinal flowers. Why might that be important? Considering what happens in later on in Act 5, a certain someone drinks, or Act 4 and Act 5, certain someone drinks a potion to pretend that they're asleep, and another certain someone drinks a poison to kill themselves. Well, that might be important. So, the earth that nature's mother is her tomb. What is her burying grave? That is her womb. And from her womb children of divers kind, we sucking on her natural bosom find. Many for many virtues excellent, none but for some and yet all different. So what they're saying here is when nature when nature lives and dies, it both buries and gives birth. So Mother Nature buries things and things die, but also Mother Nature gives birth to things. So it's like a circular life, which immediately I've got Lion King music in my head. And from her womb children of diverse kinds, so different diverse plants, we suck in on her natural bosom find. Many for many virtues excellent, so we're able to find these really good things from plants, from Mother Nature's children, from the womb of Mother Nature. We're able to find these plants that have lots of healing powers here, that have these virtuous things that we can extract from them. None but for some and yet all different. So there's lots of different things, and they all have their own good purpose. So what we find here is a lot of foreshadowing where they're talking about this potions and poisons. Oh, mickle is the powerful grace that lies in plants, herb stones, and their true qualities, for naught so vile that on the earth doth live, but to the earth some special good doth give. Nor aught so good, but strained from that fair use, revolts from true birth, stumbling on abuse. So what we've got here is there is a great power in plants and herbs and stones, and in the things we can extract from them in the I don't know what you get from plants. What do you call the things that you get from? Christiane, what do you call the things you might get from a plant? Like pollen and like, if you mash them down, the extract sort of stuff. I don't even know
Plant extracts.
like plant extracts, yeah. So yeah, from the different plant extracts that we get their true qualities. For not so far that on earth doth live, but to the earth some special good doth give. So there's nothing alive on earth that cannot be used for some good. We can make use of everything. Nor also good, but strained from that fair use, revolts from true birth, stumbling on abuse. So also these things that we can get can be misused. So everything on the earth has a special purpose. So we can see the friar is a very spiritual person in touch with nature. And he's saying everything we get, the plants can give us something good, but they can also be used for bad stuff. So revolts from true birth, stumbling on abuse. So revolting against nature's true intent for them, misusing them, stumbling from abuse. Virtue itself turns vice, so something good. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, or good become bad. Oh God, I don't know what that is. Being misapplied. No, okay, I'm not talking. And vice, sometimes by action dignified. So, and sometimes but from bad things we can have good stuff come as well. We can actually have good from bad. And he examines a flower here within the infant rind of this weak flower. So within the little parts within the insides of this frail small flower, poison hath residence and medicine power. So within this tiny little thing, we have the power to heal or the power to kill. So I suppose in a sense the flower could be symbolic of what? What do you think? Something so small has power to kill and power to heal, possibly love. For this being smelt, with that part cheers each part, being tasted slays all senses with the heart. So when you smell it, it cheers you up, it makes you feel better, it has these properties that make you feel better, perhaps it clears your nose or something. But if you eat it, it slays all senses with the heart. If you eat it, it kills you. To such opposed kings encamp them still, in manners well herbs, grace and rude will, and where the worser is predominant, for soon the canker death eats up that plant. So what he's saying here is like, where are we? So two opposing forces live in the flower. So within this tiny little flower, you've got good and you've got evil, and this is similar to humans as well. Humans are similar in man as well as herbs, grace and root will. So we have these elements as well. So the flowers are sort of mirroring humanity, and where evil is strong, death will win. Where the worser is predominant, where evil is stronger, the infectious death will win. And then Romeo enters. He says, "Good morrow, father." I can't speak Italian. Benedicite, which means God bless you. What early tongue so sweet saluteth me? Young son, it argues a distempered head. So soon to bid good morrow to thy bed. Care keeps his watch in every old man's eye, and where care lodges, sleep will never lie. But where unbruised youth with unstuffed brain, doth couch his limbs, their golden sleep doth reign. Therefore thy earliness doth me assure, thou art roused up by some distemperature. Or if not so, then here I hit it right. Our Romeo have not been in bed tonight. So, Romeo, God bless you. Who welcomes me? Young son, it argues distempered head. It suggests that you are in trouble. It suggests that you are in trouble because you're coming to me so early, to get up so soon, to not to be up out of your bed so early, shows me that something is wrong. Care keeps his watch in every old man's eye, and where care lodges, sleep will never lie. So, sorry about this, guys. So, in all old people, because they've got lots to worry about, sleep will never lie. They're up all night thinking about things because they're so worried. But where unbruised youth with unstuffed brain doth couch his limbs, their golden sleep doth reign. So, young people, however, with nothing to worry about, have beautiful sleep. Completely trouble-free, they rest their limbs and they just chill out because they don't have anything to worry about. Therefore, Romeo's earliness doth me assure, does assure me, thou art roused up by some distemperature, so you are, something is troubling you. And if not so, then here I hit it right. Romeo, I've not been in bed tonight. So it's basically saying something's troubling you because you're awake so early, or you ain't been to bed yet. And obviously we know as the reader or the audience of the play that Romeo has not been to bed yet. That last is true, the sweeter rest was mine. I had an even sweeter rest. God pardon, sir, was thou with Rosaline? With Rosaline, my ghostly father, no. I have forgot that name, and that name's woe. So, I've been so restful and at peace because, we know he's met Juliet. God pardon, sir, was thou with Rosaline? So clearly, Romeo has already told the friar about Rosaline. As I said at the beginning, the friar's kind of like Romeo's confidant. He is a bit like what the nurse is to Juliet. And with Rosaline, my ghostly father, no. So my holy spiritual father, no, I wasn't with her. I forgot that name and all the trouble that came with it. That's good, my son. But where hast thou been then? So where have you been? I'll tell thee, thou ask it me again. I like the rhyme here. The rhythm and the rhyme is really, really good. I have been feasting with mine enemy. So obviously he's been at the Capulet ball, where on a sudden one hath wounded me. So suddenly one's wounded me. Obviously not physically, but metaphorically. Cupid's arrow has pierced his heart. Within thy help and holy physic lies. That's by me wounded. So I've wounded her too. Both our remedies within thy help and holy physics lie. So what he's saying here is, I wounded them too. I've made her fall in love with me, and now we need your help. I bear no hatred, blessed man, for look, my intercession likewise steads my foe. So my plea, well, what I want you to do for me is actually going to help my enemy. It's going to help the Capulet family and help Juliet. Friars, like, be plain, good son, and homely in thy drift. Riddling confession finds but riddling shrift. He's saying, stop with all the riddles, mate. It's confusing. Just speak plainly. Just get to the point, which I'm sure many of you looking at Shakespeare think quite often. Romeo says, then plainly know my heart's dear love is set on the fair daughter of rich Capulet. As mine on her, so hers is set on mine, and all combined save what thou must combine by holy marriage. When and where and how we met, we wooed and made exchange of vow. I'll tell thee as we pass, but this I pray, that thou consent to marry us today. So then plainly know my heart's dear love is set. So I'm speaking plainly now. I'm in love of the fair daughter of rich Capulet, obviously Juliet. As mine on her, so hers is set on mine. So I love her and she loves me too. And all combined, save what thou must combine, except what we need to actually combine ourselves by holy marriage. So we're all complete, except that we're not complete by holy marriage. When and where and how we met, we wooed and made exchange of vows. So when I met her, we flirted, and I told her I was going to marry her. And I'll tell thee as we pass, I'll tell thee as we walk, but this I pray, that thou consent to marry us today. So please do us a favour and marry us today. Holy Saint Francis, what a change is here! Is Rosaline, whom thou didst love so dear, so soon forsaken? Young men's love then lies, not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes. Oh, he is speaking truth here. Romeo is so shallow, and the friar knows it. He's saying to Romeo, you are really shallow. Young men's love lies in their eyes and not in their hearts. Last week, you was so madly in love with Rosaline, and now you've just forgotten about her. What's going on? What's this change? AISE Maria, Jesus Maria, or Jesus Mary. What a deal of brine being salt water. Obviously, we know this is a metaphor for tears. What a great amount of tears have washed thy shallow cheek, they sallow cheeks for Rosaline. So all these tears from your face, this salt water, have washed your cheeks because of Rosaline. How much salt water thrown away in waste to season love? Like when you're seasoning chicken, you're like putting the spices on it, yeah? So to season love, that of it doth not taste. So you've seasoned your face and your love of crying over Rosaline for so long and being all hung up on her and strung up on her and that, and it not even come to fruition. It's just done. The sun not yet thy sighs from heaven clears, thy old groans ring yet in mine ancient ears. So, from this we can gather that Friar has heard Romeo complain about his love for Rosaline, and it's still ringing in his ears, and suddenly it's changing. And the sun, we constantly have this Romeo sighs or fog. We've seen this in earlier scenes, and the heavens are still yet to clear that the way that the sunlight clears the morning dew. Lo, here upon thy cheek the stain doth sit of an old tear that is not washed off yet. If ever thou wast thyself and these woes thine, thou and these woes were all for Rosaline, and art thou changed, pronounce. Actually, I'll wait for this. So what he's saying here is, if you ever were yourself and these sadnesses were really yours, you and these sadnesses were all for Rosaline. You spent so much time for crying over Rosaline. Have you really changed, or are you just doing the same thing again with another woman? And he says, repeat what I'm about to say. Repeat after me. Women may fall when there's no strength in men. So women can't be expected to be faithful when the men are so weak. They try to stop me off for loving Rosaline, for doting, not for loving pupil mine. So you always tell me off for loving Rosaline. You're always giving me grief for being in love with Rosaline. He said, for doting, for obsessing over her, not for loving her, my student. Badest me bury love, not in the grave, to lay one in, another out to have. So what he's saying here is, I've told you, don't just bury your love and replace it with something new. You're not actually fixing your problem, which is that you are a shallow idiot who falls in love too quickly. And he says, I pray thee, chide me not. So please don't stop telling me off. Right, I've had enough. Her I love now doth grace for grace and love for love allow. So she actually loves me back. The other did not so. Oh, she knew well, thy love did read by rote and could not spell. So read by rote is to memorize something the same way sometimes kids memorize. Maybe he's memorizing chat up lines, and the same way some kids memorize stuff before they go into an exam. He's memorized this stuff. It's not real. It's not from the heart. He's just memorized this stuff, and she knew well. Rosaline can probably see through this. But come, young waverer, come and go with me. In one respect, I'll thy assistant be, for this alliance may so happy prove to turn your household's rancour to pure love. So this is the friar's hubris. I will marry you, I will assist you with this, because the alliance might turn your household's hate into love. So this is the friar's hubris, that he believes he can fix the hatred between the two households. Oh, let us hence, I stand on sun in haste. Wisely and so, they stumble that run fast, so don't run too quickly. So I think the purpose of this scene, obviously we do see the relationship between the friar and Romeo. Again, he's kind of like the nurse, and I think it just shows Romeo as a really shallow character again, and really fickle and silly, and the friar basically tells the audience that I really don't think Romeo is a hero. I think Romeo is a fickle, naive, shallow man-child. And I think Shakespeare does use Romeo and Juliet to show the silliness and stupidity of a lot of romantic stories. And also the other thing for this scene is it does foreshadow the poison and the potion. So there's a couple of reasons. The first might be that later on in the later acts, where Juliet drinks the potion that makes her sleep, or Romeo drinks the poison that kills himself, and we already know this, a lot of it from the prologue as well. The audience would be like, oh yeah, I kind of had a feeling about that because I saw it in Act 2, Scene 3. It won't come as such a shock to them. So there is a lot of foreshadowing in this scene. And also, I think it really develops the theme of fate in the play. Obviously, one of the major themes between the two star-crossed lovers is written in the stars. This theme of fate, I think, by having the friar out collecting these plants and talking about these poisons and giving this foreshadowing, it kind of says like, yeah, all of this was bound to happen and was written in the stars. So that's it. That's the scene. Your only assignment for this is to analyse a few devices, because it's a nice short scene. I don't want to give you too much work. So there you go. Thank you. Bye bye.